My name is Michael Byrd. I am the Executive Director for Prescott Creeks Preservation Association. Prescott Creeks is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization with a mission to achieve healthy watersheds and clean waters in central Arizona for people and wildlife. And we do that through protection, restoration, education, and advocacy. Here we are at Watson Woods Riparian Preserve, and we're going to talk about what Prescott Creeks has been doing here on this city-owned property over the last 26 years.
Watson Woods Riparian Preserve is a rare and threatened cottonwood willow forest being protected and restored by individuals, non-governmental organizations, and city and federal government partners working together. Cottonwoods and willows create a cathedral-like atmosphere over Granite Creek and a perennial pond providing habitat for a wide variety of fish, reptiles, amphibians, insects, birds, and mammals. The preserve offers a diversity of low-impact recreation options for city residents and visitors, along with opportunities to be involved at all levels.
This is kind of a joint effort with Prescott Creeks and Prescott Audubon. I happen to be a member of both organizations. We do important bird surveys. What we do is we walk through various areas of the woods. We have 3 teams. Each team counts as many birds as they can see and or hear. The whole point of really important bird areas is to know what birds are there. It's just as important to keep common birds common as it is to find rare birds. That's why we survey, to make sure that these birds are still around in good numbers.
Recognizing the importance of riparian areas to Arizona's wildlife and the public, Prescott Creeks and the city recognized the potential for protecting the area. In 1995, Prescott Creeks and the city established Watson Woods Riparian Preserve with a 25-year management lease. During the restoration project, Prescott Creeks and its project partners relocated 4 reaches of the Granite Creek Channel, planted tens of thousands of willow and cottonwood cuttings, created multiple wetlands for wildlife and water quality improvement, and established 2.6 miles of interpretive trails for hiking, wildlife viewing, and educational programming. Much of this work was accomplished through thousands of volunteer hours. Volunteers came from Prescott Creeks members and supporters, school and church programs, local tribes, non-governmental organizations, and from the public at large.
We're at Watson Woods Riparian Preserve today, and what we're doing is we're actually monitoring the groundwater levels within the preserve. We've got 8 groundwater monitoring wells throughout the preserve, and we're here at monitoring well number 8. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open that up, and we're going to demonstrate how we get the level of the groundwater.
This is our meter for recording the depth, and we drop that down into there until we hear the buzzing.
So Russ, why is it important for Prescott Creeks to monitor the groundwater here at Watson Woods?
Well, we've been trying to develop a history of what goes on with the water levels throughout the seasons, so we can develop information we can use for comparative purposes.
And so we've had these wells in place since, I believe, 1998 is when they were installed. So we've got about a 20-year record of what the groundwater has been doing at this site.
Educating volunteers and visitors to the preserve is an important part of our work. Volunteers are provided training for their work tasks. Regular guided tours are offered at the preserve and cover many topics, including plant identification and natural history, the importance of riparian areas, bird watching, and ecological restoration.
The cottonwoods that are right around me were planted in the winter of 2010. And when we planted these cottonwoods, I think it was a Sunday morning. We had a volunteer crew that had been camping out. It was in February, and so it was wet and it was cold and it was kind of a miserable day. Nobody was like really super excited to be doing restoration work that day. When we plant these cottonwoods, we actually plant them from branches that we harvest from a donor tree. In some instances, they can be what we call posts. And we were using backhoes, big yellow machines running diesel, to dig pits in the floodplain here. And my recollection is we were probably going about 6-8 feet deep to get to the groundwater that's underneath here so that those trees could get their roots in the groundwater right away. conditions were tough because it was cold and it was wet and we were sliding around. And we came over and a couple of pits had just been completed kind of concurrently. Both backhoes shut down at the same time and it just got quiet out here. And as we were standing there, the clouds parted and a shaft of sunlight showed down on these trees. And as we were kind of looking at this, thinking, oh, you could not cue this for a movie, about 12 or 15 bluebirds, western bluebirds, flew in and perched on the trees that we had just planted. And we were just absolutely amazed that we weren't even finished with the project, and the wildlife here in the preserve was already using habitat that we had created. And so I think for me, having those kind of experiences can be very formative, and they kind of help snap me back into the bigger picture focus of, we're not just planting trees, we're creating a riparian forest. We're creating habitat for native wildlife. And so I always think to that as one of the highlights of the work that we've done here, and I think it's kind of one of those immediate success stories as well.
Prescott Creeks and Watson Woods Riparian Preserve are supported by the community. You can help ensure this area is protected for all time. Visit www.prescottcreeks.org to learn how you can do your part.